Hi everybody, I'm John Weltman and the president of Surrogacy. I'm a lawyer and I'm also a parent through surrogacy. So my husband and I have been together for about 30 years. We have 2 boys, one is mine, one is his through the same surrogate mother. And so we were actually the first couple in America to do this, where each person had 1 child through the same surrogate. And so I want to talk to you today a little bit about the agency role, because although I've been involved in surrogacy myself for about 20 years, as an agency for about 17, and when you come to the United States, which Steve will talk to you about is really the right place, especially for the Spanish and the French and a number of others here, to go, what we're going to try to do is to figure out first and foremost what's safest for you in terms of returning home. We're very proud to say, and I know this is true for everybody else on the panel, we're trying to get you home with no problems whatsoever. So you can not only have a US passport, but also a passport of your home country, and if you're from more than one, to do that. So the key to that is to know, where does the surrogate need to come from? But on top of that, agencies are responsible for screening surrogates for many other things. And that includes such things as, are they too heavy? Are they from a state which is legal for surrogacy? Are they women who want to be surrogates and their husbands are supportive? Have they had children before? What is their medical history like? Do they have any complications with any of their prior pregnancies? Do they have any psychological issues that would deter them? And so when agencies look at these women, at least in our agency, we are looking at about 400 women a month to choose 12, about 3%. And it is very, very, very selective. There are some wonderful women who would be absolutely fabulous, but one thing will be wrong. They don't respond quickly to an email. But we need them at a doctor's office every single day for 2 straight weeks. We don't want women like that. And so the women who get selected are just the best, but they also need to be from the right place to work with you. They have to have the same ideas you do about abortion and selective reduction. And so everything we're doing is to try to make the right match along the way. Now, the same thing applies to a certain degree with donors, except that the donor screening is much more of a genetic type of screening, which is largely done by the doctor. But we still want women who are open to be known, if that's what you want, or anonymous, if that's what you want. Women who, again, come from the right states, because I wouldn't choose a donor from Louisiana under any circumstances. It's not a good state for donation. Women who understand what it is that you're looking for in the future, and understand medically what they're going to go through. So there's a lot of selectivity in that process as well. And most of you are going to need both, although some people come along with sisters and friends, and that's doable as well, and we can help you with that. The compensation for these women is primarily handled, in our case, by a law firm, in other cases by an escrow agent, but it's always separate from the surrogate parenting agency. It's very important that that money, which is the most of your money, is kept separate and secure. So if the agency went bankrupt, it's protected. So that if the obligation is to pay that surrogate, it's paid. And that you can count on that. And you have, in Massachusetts, you have a board of bar overseers that actually oversees everything that we do and can disbar me and my entire law firm if we send a penny the wrong way, which we've never even had an inquiry. So all of those things you need to track on a monthly basis. You have to have an accounting team that's telling you where is your money going, and you have to look back at your contract and make sure that proper monies are being spent. But someone at an agency is managing that for you to make sure it's being properly done for both the donor and the carrier. The timeline we find of the typical carrier tract is about 18 months. Now that varies from person to person. It varies depending upon where you're from, what you're looking to do, and most importantly, how quickly you get pregnant. But it's a good guesstimate. The way that works is it usually takes some time to find your donor, some time to choose your clinic, some time to find your surrogate. And then there's also a waiting time where the 2 women's cycles are joined up before they can do the IVF. And then there's another 9 months to pregnancy. So people who come in, certainly I've heard of 8.5-month surrogacy journeys and 3-year surrogacy journeys. But I think people should come in and figure from the time you're ready to sign with an agency to a baby, about 18 months. In terms of insurance and financial considerations that Ron has asked me to speak about as well, the insurance area is really where surrogate agencies vary the most, and the lawyers do as well. It depends hugely upon what the surrogate's insurance says, whether a policy can be issued by Lloyd's of London specifically to cover her, and what the state says about different things. In Massachusetts, we actually have state laws that mandate coverage for maternity and also mandate coverage for children, and you can buy separate policies for that. But in other states, that's not always the case. So it depends from state to state, it depends from agency to agency, it depends on lawyer to lawyer, but you must have your surrogate covered at least for her maternity, and there is a product that you can purchase. But it's very important to make sure that your surrogate passes the criteria of Lloyd's of London so that she can be covered, because that is one of your options and certainly something that you must do before you begin this process, and is part of your overall costs. And so now I'm asked to answer the one question that nobody really wants you to ever talk about in Europe, except they really want the answer to, which is, what does this really cost? And again, I'm sorry to say that it varies. It varies primarily, again, with how quickly you get pregnant. The one thing that tends to not have a lot of similarity is whether someone's journey is inexpensive because they got pregnant the first time, or whether it's more expensive because it took 3 times to get them pregnant. And so the range can be generally from about $85,000 to about $125,000, all told. That does not include your travel costs. I've had people who stayed in apartment complexes near the surrogates, and I've had people who wanted to only stay at the Ritz. So that's up to you. But the rest of that should be covered in that range. It certainly can go higher. I've not really seen it go much lower unless you're using a friend as a donor. That's sort of a good overall sense. That would should cover the agency, the surrogate, the donor, the IVF, the insurance. But again, it depends upon the situation. So I hope that I'm running out of time, and that gave you a good overview. I'm absolutely available for questions that you might have.